Hi guys, Ramsey here. Welcome to another video. Today we have a very special episode of This Year in Perfume, and it's going to be on the year 1986. The last one was on 85, so here we are in 86. 85 was my birth year, so it's a fantastic year in and of itself, but 86 is also equally fantastic, especially in the perfume world, because it holds a couple of my favorite fragrances that I've stumbled across in this journey of all time. And so before we get into it, let's do the usual. Let's talk about some things that happened in 86 before we actually hop into the fragrances. And so the first thing, obviously, there were a couple bad news events, like, for example, Chernobyl had actually happened in 1986, which is the nuclear power plant meltdown, and that was definitely one of the biggest events, along with the Space Shuttle Challenger exploding, which, if I'm not mistaken, I went to the University of Texas at Arlington, and one of the dorms, I believe, was actually named after one of the crew members who ended up dying in that disaster. And I think then, to make matters worse, they even brought along like a regular civilian who had won they won like a contest of some sort, and they got to go in space with the astronauts, and that person was also on board. So some of the news that happened in 86 between the Soviet nuclear reactor at Chernobyl that exploded, I think that happened in April, and the Space Shuttle Challenger, I think, was somewhere in the middle of the year, if I'm not mistaken. But a couple bad news events happened in 1986. But in the perfume world, we're talking the cream of the crop. These are some of my favorite fragrances of all time. Also, I should mention a couple movies that came out in 86. You had Rocky 4, which I think was the best Rocky. And then you had, Rocky 4, was that the one with the Russian? I can't remember. I think it was. If it's the one with the Russian, it's the best one. And then there was also a little movie you might have heard of called Top Gun. And I think that ended up being the best grossing movie from the year 1986 of all time. There were others. There was the Karate Kid Part 2 was big. What else came out? Crocodile Dundee, stuff like that, The Golden Child, but the main ones for me would be Top Gun and Rocky 4. Okay, so list of songs. So there's one song that I picked amongst all of the #1 hits from 1986 that sums up the year of 1986 for me, and that is the Pet Shop Boys' West End Girls. For some reason, that song just encapsulates 1986 for me. Obviously, there were others, but that's the one that I would focus on for me personally. Okay, so let's get into the fragrances. And before we start with 1986 fragrances, I've got my handy dandy microfiber cloth. So hopefully I don't get any tickets from the fingerprint police. And we're going to start with Scent of the Day. So obviously, Scent of the Day is not a 1986 release. This is actually a designer from 2004, 18 years ago. This is called Escada Magnetism. I hope the glare isn't too bad with this light that I bought. I need to figure out how to dim it or make it brighter, but either way, there's, as you can tell, I'm a technology Luddite, even though I'm in my 30s. Okay, so Escada Magnetism is a designer, came out in 2004. Michel Almarac is the perfumer, who is, one of the all-time greats. We'll have he will be featured in a perfumer's portfolio video very soon, because he definitely deserves it. His resume is absolutely top-notch, and this is one of these designer fragrances from 18 years ago. It's marketed by Scanin, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, So Scannon released some fantastic fragrances, and this is also a great designer. I've had it on for the last 3 or 4 hours, and Rich Mitch talked about this in his, what's he call it? His rotation video, his weekly rotation video. So here, let me give you guys a fresh spray. Sprayer's fantastic. Look at that. It just, you know, drowns you in juice. I love it. Okay, so magnetism for men. Now, if you know fragrances, there's nothing that's exactly like this, but there's a couple designers. I didn't bother to grab the bottles because you've seen them on my other videos, and you probably know of them well. The designers that this harkens to, especially in the opening, you get that M7 cola vibe, but you also get a little bit, to me anyways, when you first spray, you get this generic designer Midnight in Paris type feel. So Midnight in Paris is one of the most popular designer discontinued fragrances of all time. Van Cleef & Arpels, I think they made a terrible mistake discontinuing that fragrance. It could have been a whole line of fragrances. I've often said Midnight in Texas would have sold, I'm telling you. I'll be the face of the Midnight in Texas campaign. They could have done Midnight in New York, Midnight in LA. I mean, you name it. Shanghai. They could have gone all over with that. They really screwed the pooch on that one. But this has a little bit of that feel. So this is 100 ml, and you can see the juice level. And I'm babying this bottle because 50 ml bottles of this go for $2.50 online now. Do not pay that. Just don't. Okay, I'm telling you right now. It's not worth that. But if you can find a good deal on it, and you like that cola vibe that you get from fragrances like Creation E, Roja Parfums, or Enigma, if you're overseas, if you like M7, the original M7 has the cola vibe in the opening turned up more than M7 Absolute, which I actually have a bottle of both, so I will be doing a comparison video for you guys on that at some point. I have a lot of videos in my head that I want to make, as you can see. And so this basically takes that designer, you know, vanilla type feel and mixes in with, again, this designer sandalwood type feel with this leather, which there's also a leather in Midnight in Paris. Now, they don't smell necessarily the same, but they feel the same, if that makes sense. They both feel like very well-made designers that have a supporting, you know, leather note with some spices. The pepper in this, there's this pepper, there's a pepper and there's a pepper tree note, which I must admit, I'm a little bit ignorant of what a pepper tree note is in perfumery. I obviously know what pepper is, but pepper tree, I'm not sure. Maybe it's a different part. Maybe it's a part of the tree they use in perfumery that I'm not familiar with, but there is a pepper tree note listed. There's musk, there's saffron, there's leather, there's amber, there's tolu balsam, there's vanilla, and there's cedar. So, you know, those fragrances are probably what I would compare this to. Imagine you took the booziness of Creation E, Enigma, and mixed it with M7, and then threw in a little bit of Midnight in Paris, and that's kind of what you get. It doesn't smell like necessarily any of those. It almost feels a little bit like the bottle, you know, that purple, imagine like a Midnight in Paris turned up with this purple Robitussin type feel. Literally, that's what I get. And Rich Mitch has said before, sometimes the best fragrances emulate the bottle in some way. Like the bottle really gives you an idea of what you're going to get in the scent. And it is designer. It's nothing that's, you know, this is nothing that's going to blow your mind away as far as, you know, something that's going to develop and all this stuff on you. You're not going to sit there and go, wow, these are the best ingredients I've ever smelled. You know, it's not going to compete with a Tower or Roja or, you know, name your favorite niche brand that you know and love. This is not going to do that. But for a designer fragrance, this does give us a feel of what we lost. And I'm so glad to have even this much juice is worth cherishing. It is linear. It doesn't develop very much. It just kind of does its thing. But what it does very well. And you could wear this pretty much any time. Most people would probably wear it in, you know, moderate, cool weathers. It doesn't have to be, though. You could wear it in the spring or fall. I just probably would not wear this in the heat of summer. But beautiful designer for what it is. If you lived back then and owned this, you probably love this to the hilt. And it's a shame that Escada discontinued all of their masculine fragrances. So Escada Homme, which I love, it's like that heritage, you know, from Guerlain feel with this boozy note mixed in. Casual Friday, which is Duncan's favorite fragrance. And, you know, that's a Dominique Ropion creation. I'd much rather wear Casual Friday than Le Male, let's put it that way. And but they're all just well-made designer fragrances that it's gone. That market's just gone, I guess. And they're focusing only on women's fragrances, but I think that there is a place for this. If they released men's fragrances again and did something like this, which this can be done today. There's nothing from 18 years ago in this that I don't think they could recreate today, even with modern synthetics, even if they had to you know, it's not like the ingredients are off the chart amazing. It's a mainstream designer, but it is sad that this is kind of what we lost in perfumery. Now let's go back to 1986 and show you some stuff what we really lost. I'll show you. I'm going to start with one that's a bit of a cheat, and again, I've told you before, but I'm going off of Parfumo. And I don't know if this is 100% correct, but we all know that the original Shalimar came out in the 1920s, 24, 25, you know, whatever it may be. That was a Jacques Guerlain creation. This version of it, the Eau de Parfum, or Parfum de Toilette, I didn't grab that one, I just grabbed the Eau de Parfum. Parfumo shows it was released in 86. So, here you go, Shalimar in the Eau de Parfum concentration. And wow, you can really see the lettering with this light, huh? I hope the glare's not too bad. But again, this is a new thing for me, so I would like your feedback. One of the subscribers gave me some excellent feedback yesterday on the first video I did with this light. So I would like your feedback, but this is just a refill bottle. It's nothing, you know, special or anything like that. It's just a cheap refill bottle that I got, but I love Shalimar Eau de Parfum. I love the mixture of dirty vanilla and bergamot and a little bit of that dirty, you know, castoreum, balsamic feel underneath. There's beautiful iris in this, so it is powdery. If you don't like powdery fragrances, you might struggle with this, but do test this because Shalimar is one of the greatest perfume creations of all time. If you're a perfume lover, you have to understand Shalimar. It's hard. I would say it would be very hard to understand where we went in perfumery without understanding the greatness of Shalimar. So again, the original Shalimar came out in 1924, but I'm cheating a little bit because the Eau de Parfum, Parfumo shows from 86. So it's a different version, if you will, a variant of the original fragrance, let's call it. But one that definitely deserves to be highlighted. And I think I found this 50 ml refill bottle at Marshall's for like $32.50 or something, $32. I just couldn't say no a couple years back. So, you know, Shalimar EDP, or Parfum de Toilette, as they called it. I could have grabbed the older bottle, but I just wanted to show you that one. Okay, now we're going to go on to a fragrance that I have 3 bottles of. So you know I love this juice. And not everyone agrees. I was watching Kellen's channel, Sense of South Jersey, and he was saying he hates this fragrance, which kind of shocked me. I didn't realize that he hated this. But I wonder if he's tried the Lancaster version or, you know, one of the newer formulations that's not as good. But this is Xeno by Davidoff. Hope I got the fingerprints off here. Okay, Zeno by Davidoff. The Zeno is coming off there, as you can see. But so what? So what you want to look for when you buy this fragrance, and this is discontinued, but it still can be had for a good price, is you want to look for the Lancaster distributor. So if you look on the bottom, I should have brought the other bottle I had too because it showed it engraved. One of them is engraved. This one has a sticker. Either way, if you take a look right there, you can see Distributed Lancaster Group, LLC. That's what you want. You want the Lancaster distributor. And the fragrance is very reminiscent of a couple fragrances that I love, most notably Heritage. I get big Heritage vibes out of this, but here the rose is amped up. So I actually included this in my favorite rose fragrances, but it's a very masculine fragrance with this ghost rose that just kind of blooms as the fragrance dries on your skin. It's almost like, I think, who was it? One of the channels, Thomas from Early Greek, said that it's almost like, you know, taking a walk in a forest, and you're hours into the walk, you've experienced all the smells, you know, you maybe came across a beautiful lavender bush, and then a couple hours in, after you've kind of been sweating and stuff, you come across a rose bush. And so you've already experienced all of the forest, and then the rose comes to play at the end. And maybe by then you're at the top of the mountain, you're sweating. And that's a great description. You know, the patchouli in this is amazing. It's a rock star patchouli, as I call it. Actually, as AC from Smells Good calls it, he called the patchouli in Heritage a rock star patchouli, and I think this is as well. This is from 1986, of course, or else it wouldn't be in the list. I don't know why I keep saying that. This is also a Michel Almerac creation. Michel Almerac, highly sought after perfumer of some of my favorite years, let's say. And this is just so classy. It's so, I feel like you could wear this with a tuxedo, or you could wear it lounging around the house with a t-shirt like I have on today. And you do have to like patchouli though, but this is, it's so good. And then you take the fact that Zeno is actually the name of the founder of the brand. They stamped his name on it, and that just goes to show, you know, it's such an homage to the man who founded the House of Davidoff. And it's just so elegant. You do get this floral bouquet in the heart that you have to enjoy. If you don't like florals, you might like the opening, but then, you know, as the florals start to come out, it might be something that has to grow on you. Maybe that's why some of the other, you know, some of the other old school lovers of fragrances have a hard time with this, because you do get this rose, geranium, jasmine, lily of the valley that all come to the forefront, but this is pure masculine to me. Although, you know, a woman could definitely wear this. If you like fragrances like Beau de Jour, you have to check this out. This is the grandfather of Beau de Jour. And instead of paying $300 for a vintage, you know, private blend Beau de Jour bottle, just get this. I mean, I don't own Beau de Jour because of this. This fragrance is what I prefer to wear anyways. So you get this classiness, you know, from the lavender. There's also Brazilian rosewood, which I love that note. It just adds this smooth creaminess to it. And there's vanilla in the base, so, but it's not too sweet. This doesn't go ultra sweet on me. The patchouli kind of rounds everything out because it is kind of an earthy, dirty, damp patchouli, but love this fragrance. Check this out if you don't have it and you're a vintage collector, or let's say you're trying to begin a vintage collection. Of all the ones I'm going to show you, because there's some bangers coming up next, this is the easiest to start with. Go hunt down a 30 ml of Lancaster and pay 20 bucks or something for it. And, you know, this is a 75 ml. I have two of these and I have one 30 ml bottle. But if you can find the Lancaster version, that's what you want. And I think if you enjoy fragrances like Beau de Jour, Heritage, even, you know, YSL Jazz, it kind of harkens They're distant cousins, let's say. If you like those kind of vintage fragrances, check this out. This is all-star patchouli, masculine rose as far as I'm concerned. I love it to bits. Okay, now we're going to go to a house that doesn't get very much talk. They're kind of a under the radar house, in my opinion, and I'm not really sure why. Maybe because it was the disposition of the founder. He wasn't flashy like Gianni Versace or anything like that. He wasn't Armani. He was kind of the third wheel of Italian houses, if you will, as is another brand coming up very soon. But the fragrance itself is from the house of Gianfranco Ferre, and this is called Gianfranco Ferre for Man. Now, be careful, because there's a Gianfranco Ferre for man, and there's a Gianfranco Ferre for men. The for men version is a 2006, I believe, release that Pierre Bourdon did for the house. This is a 1986 release. And so this is the first perfume for men from this house. And this is a splash bottle. This is what they call the tea bottle, because obviously it looks like a tea. And you notice how the glass here is see-through. So on the next version, the one that's reformulated, still very good, just not as sought after as these tea bottles. You will notice that this is black. There's no see-through glass right there. So if you can find this tea bottle, that's what you want. That's the most sought after version. And so this is a splash. And this is again, a very classy fragrance. So it also has lavender. But it gives you this very clean 80s feel while also having a little bit of dirtiness and mossiness. There's tobacco, so it does stay very masculine. It's spicy from the cardamom and sage, and it opens up very, very lemony, very fresh. There's even a little bit of a fruit note from this, fig, patchouli combo thing going on. There's vetiver in the base. There's sandalwood. So as you can see, it's a very complex fragrance. It also has old school carnation in it, which I love. So if, the dirtiness of the damp patchouli and something like this is not your thing, and you want something a little bit cleaner, but you still want a old school masculine fragrance, the tobacco in this makes this very masculine to me. Again, a woman can wear any of these. Anyone can wear anything that they like. But when I think about, masculine fragrances, this is classy masculine to me. And I'm very happy to have a bottle. It might surprise some people, but I actually prefer to wear this in the summer. If you like fragrances like Ho Hang Club, or if you like, one of the comparisons of this is to Eau Sauvage. I think it's Extreme or Fraîcheur, one of the discontinued versions that they kind of amped it up a little bit. This is a comparison to that, because it does have that citrus. I keep dropping my microfiber cloth. I need to fling it over my shoulder like Eugene, sit here like this. But if you like those citrus heavy fragrances, even though this has a chiffre structure in a sense that, it has the mossiness underneath, it has the, it feels like there's some damp forest floor with tobacco underneath it all to give it some masculine dirtiness, even though it starts out very fresh and lemony and clean with the lavender and stuff like that. Check this out. If you want something a little bit more clean, but still with some depth, check this out. And if you can get the tea bottle, that's what you want. Prices on these are not elevated. These two are fantastic starters. This one's the best starter because it's so easy to find. And everyone thinks, oh, it's discontinued, but it'll be around forever. They thought the same thing about Midnight in Paris. They thought that, oh, even though it's discontinued, there's loads of bottles around. at $35. And then all of a sudden one day, once the stock ran out, that's it. It was gone. So if you can scoop up a bottle of this and you know what you're looking for, you can just, you can be surgical with your attack. You can go grab the good stuff before it's gone. Okay, now we're going to move on to a traditional aromatic fougere that I would say is not nothing revolutionary, but what it does very well. And this is from the house of Givenchy. Obviously, it's not my favorite from the house. I'd much rather wear Givenchy Gentleman from 1974. That's much more my thing. But if you're a man that likes an aromatic fougere and you want one that's well done from the old days, if you're a fougere man and that's your thing, you have to check out Xeryus by Givenchy. Now, this is a vintage, again, splash. The bottle doesn't look like this anymore. It looks like, it almost looks like this clear bottle with a black sticker on it, I believe, with a black cap that's reminiscent of the reformulated versions of Givenchy Gentlemen. So the reason that I don't like this as much as another fougere I'll show you later on is everything is very round and very smooth with this fragrance. There's a lot going on and there's a lot of quality notes, and again, what it does very well. But it's very classic in its structure. It's very clean. I like a little bit more dirtiness happening. There is a cypress note in here, which I actually really enjoy. That's one of my favorite notes in here, is you get that cypress, but it's classic fougere. You get the lavender, you get the geranium, you get the coumarin in the base, and you get the 80s oak moss. There's some balsam fir, so you get the idea. Aromatic fougere, but nothing extraordinary. If you can get the older bottle like this, do so. It's better than the new stuff for sure. I would just completely take a pass on the new stuff altogether and wear something else. There's even this hint of an incense note. So there's a lot going on, but I get this, on my skin anyways, I get this very clean, traditional aromatic fougere that easily you could wear this to office and it could be a signature office scent for a guy. It's just, sometimes it's a little bit boring for me. I just prefer some of the other dirtier stuff. Okay, so speaking of some of the other dirtier stuff, here's a fragrance that uses some dirty notes to perfection, but it's not done in a way that's going to put many people off. It's done in a way that, for the 80s, was probably very mass appealing. Today, it might put some people off, but for the 80s, I think this was just a fantastic fragrance. This came out in 1986, obviously. This is from one of my favorite houses, Lagerfeld, and this is a fragrance called KL Homme. Now, to me, this and the original Lagerfeld from 8 years prior to this share some similarities. So this has a amped up civet and benzoin note in the base, and it also has this amped up Brazilian rosewood in the base, but you still get the that orange feel that Lagerfeld has. Lagerfeld Cologne, or Classic, if you will, the new version is called Classic. It has this powdery orris type feel with vanilla and this orange vibe. It almost feels a bit like the juice in a way. It gives you this syrupy orange, powdery feel. Somebody actually bought Lagerfeld Classic, one of my subscribers, based on the fact that I was talking about it, and I bought a backup bottle recently. I got a steal on that, $40 for 60 ml of the Bethco version on Mercari. And he said he got it in, he sprayed it in, and he didn't really like it because it reminded him a bit of Abbey Rouge. And Abbey Rouge has this powderiness to it, like Lagerfeld Classic and like KL Homme, but they smell nothing alike. Just, if you don't like powdery fragrances, As a man, it might put you off at first, but continue to wear it. Give it 5 full wears, let's say, before you give up on it. Continue to wear it. And this is in that same boat. They could have easily made this a flanker of Lagerfeld Classic to me, and I don't think anyone would have batted an eye, because it has that ambery orange. It's funny, if you go look on Fragrantica, actually Lagerfeld Classic or Lagerfeld Cologne in the vintage is the #1 comparison to this, and I completely get that. Another comparison is JHL by Hermes, which also has this orange, powdery, oriental vibe going. JHL is a fragrance I showed before on the channel, and I think that even that might be discontinued now. I know Estee, or maybe Estee Lauder just sold that line off to another brand, but Joseph Harold Lauder, I believe, is what that stood for, and basically he was a fan of wearing fragrances like Cinnabar and Opium, so they made him a masculine version of it, and they share some similarities. JHL and the original Lagerfeld Classic share some similarities with this. So mine, this is a 60 ml bottle, and let's see if I can stop shaking like a leaf here. Okay, so you can see Parfums International. I believe Parfums International took over from Bethco, if I'm not mistaken, for distributing Lagerfeld fragrances. And so something like this, it's warm, it's comforting, it even though it's ambery and it has a touch of sweetness to it, because naturally I think ambery fragrances have that. This is not one of these overly sweet bombs of today. You know, some of the sweetness in men's fragrances really puts me off today. You've heard me say it before. I don't like sweet fragrances for the most part. There are exceptions. There's always an exception to the rule. But this does a great job of being warm, and you have that powdery iris. It's enveloping. It has some dirty civet. I think it's civet underneath it all. Civet or castoreum underneath it all to give it a little bit of, you know, keep it interesting. And there's vanilla, there's benzoin, you get the picture. But it manages to do all that and not be sweet. And that's a trick of the 80s, that they were able to use these ingredients in a way that I think would be appealing to a certain percentage of the population, but also keep somebody like me, who's a fragrance connoisseur, interested, not get me bored, not put me off by the sweetness. So this fragrance walks that line beautifully. I would totally wear this to work. Just because you heard it has civet in the base, it's not like Koros. Although I think I might even wear Koros to work, and let the chips fall where they may. But this does have that beautiful ambery, look at the juice color and look at the bottle. Some people say this cap looks tacky with the half blue, half reflective. I actually really like it. It looks a bit like a whiskey decanter or something from the old days. Beautiful, beautiful presentation. I love this stuff. And again, this is another one that's not out there being hyped to the hill, so you can probably get a pretty good deal on it. Okay, now we're going to go to a flanker of a very special fragrance, because it's my father's signature scent, and he also wore this for a time. He kind of switched back and forth between this and the original. And this is a fragrance by Paco Rabanne, and it's called Sport de Paco Rabanne. So this fragrance comes on the heels of some amazing sport fragrances. Actually, the only sport fragrances that I could truly say that I love are this Hugo Boss Sport, which is my favorite. That's my favorite sport fragrance of all time, even more than this. And Polo Sport from the early 90s, I think. But this came out by, the nose behind this was not the original nose. It wasn't Jean Martel. It was Rosendo Matou. Rosendo Matu was the nose for this, and you can see the raised R on the bottle. There was also a green bottle that came out, and I don't know whether the green one came first or this one came first. Here, let me give this a spray. It's been a long time since I've worn this. With summer coming around, I'll be wearing it again. But this is perfect for summer, especially if you like fragrances like Paco Rabanne Pour Homme, because it definitely gives you that. It gives you that beautiful citrus that you expect in a sport fragrance. But you can almost smell Paco Rabanne Pour Homme just lurking underneath. You know, it's like Paco Rabanne Pour Homme, but with the teeth taken out. You do get this beautiful woody. Probably the star of this fragrance is the woods with the citruses. I hate when they say spicy notes. I want to know what the spices are, and I can't distinguish just by smelling. But for summer, you don't mind applying, you know, every 6 or 8 hours, just reapply. This is a great summer fragrance, and very few guys are going to be smelling like this. You will definitely stand out. So that's Sport de Paco Rabanne. Getting harder to find. I think I paid, I don't know, $160 for this bottle a few years back. So if you can find one, grab it, especially if you're not going to get, you know, if you're not going to get raked over the coals on the price. But it's got the 80s built-in sprayer. I actually really like that presentation. This is a tester that I bought, as you can see. Demonstration not for sale, but I bought it. Okay, so now we're going to move on to a fragrance that somebody actually, one of the subscribers gave me a pretty hard time for doing the year 1986 and this year in perfume and not including the original Obsession for Women, which I don't own it. So, but I have rectified that. I have a bottle on the way, but I don't own it right now. Now, this is Obsession for Men, and unfortunately, this is the Coty version. I got this 100 ml bottle for, whoops, I guess I should put this the right way, shall I? 125 ml bottle for under 20 bucks. I don't remember exactly, but it was ridiculously cheap. So I said, what the hey? And I sprayed it and I went, whatever. It's not very interesting. I will tell you a fragrance that I found that I think is more interesting than Obsession for Men. And that is a fragrance called Crazy Krizia. Now, this is the EDP. The EDT, which I did a first impression of on a couple videos back, if you take a look. The EDT I was a little bit less impressed with, but the EDP, this would make almost like my, if I'd ever did a, this is not a top 10 Tonka fragrance video. The Tonka in this is amazing, and somebody mentioned that they get a really big Tonka note, and I agree, especially in the EDP. And Tonka sometimes I feel a little bit, Tonka is a little tough for me to wear sometimes because I think I'm a little anosmic to it, to be honest with you. Tonka Imperial, Fève Delicios, I own those and they're just kind of like, to me. It's, you know, I spray it on and you get this generic kind of sweetness thing, but I don't appreciate it. Here, the blend is so much better, and I know I'm showing this more than Obsession because the current version of Obsession is crap. To me, I need to hunt down a vintage where the dirtiness underneath it all is amped up. But that powdery, you know, this if I was gonna wear a fragrance like this, I would rather just wear this, to be honest with you. I know they're not exactly the same, but they're kind of competing for the same mind space, if you will. But also don't leave out Crazy Krizia. I got 2 bottles of this for $90, and each one is 100 ml. Don't let the small bottle size fool you. This is 100 ml. And I got an EDP and I got an EDT. So if you like fragrances like Obsession, check out Crazy Krizia. Even though it's for women, they are, you know, again, they're kind of in the same category, if you will. Okay, now we're going to go on to a aromatic fougere, which I actually prefer over Xeryus. And this is a fragrance by the house of Ville, Parfums Ville, and this is called Kipling. Okay, so this is Kipling. And this is a fragrance that I think I got from Le Parfume in a haul a year ago or so. And the nose behind this fragrance is Jean Pierre Marie. This came out in '86, obviously, or it wouldn't be in the video. And this uses notes that I like more in a fougere than Xeryus because it uses this very sharp artemisia that mixes with juniper. So you get this sharp greenness that mixes with this fresh juniper. And of course the citruses, bergamot, lemon. And then of course lavender. Can't have a fougere without lavender. Geranium. Can't have a fougere without geranium. And then this awesome green pine and basil. So you can see the holy trinity of green notes. Artemisia, pine, basil. So you get this instant, you know, flash of sharp brightness when you spray this. It's like this sharp, bright, and that's what I love about aromatic fougères that are done in this style, that have teeth, if you will. There's also oak moss, leather, patchouli, musk, cedar underneath it all. So this is a fantastic fragrance. If the house had more offerings to offer, I would be interested in exploring more from this house because I was very impressed with this. Extremely impressed. I feel like I need to find a way to turn this light down. But Kipling, beautiful fragrance. I wish I had a bigger bottle. This is only a, what is this? What are you? 30 ml? I don't know what you are. We'll say you're a 30 ml bottle. But if you're an aromatic fougere fan, again, these two are definitely ones to try. I would highlight the Kipling. Okay, next we're gonna move on to a fragrance that I got from Anuj at Enchanté, and I wore this for Halloween last year, and so this scent memory is very attached, you could say, to this perfume. And he very kindly also sent me the aftershave, and this is a fragrance by Marbert called Gentleman. So I bought this. He included this for free because he's a fantastic guy. Enchanté Perfumes. And there is the bottom, and look at that. Made in West Germany. I absolutely love that. So this is a... Can I even open it? Yes, I can. All right, so this is a... Oh, if you like dirty fragrances, if you're a big fan of like Koros and Antaeus and maybe even Musks de Kubla Khan to a certain extent, check this out. This is a animalic musk is basically what it is, but animalic in an 80s style animalic. So imagine you took a fragrance like Musk Kublai Khan with that very dirty, you know, musk that's in your face, and you mixed in a 80s style civet from a fragrance like Koros or even Furio. And on top, you created this almost like the beginnings of a, I want to say almost like the beginnings of a fougere. So you have this citrus, you have geranium, you know, but you also have patchouli and rose and jasmine. There's greenness from artemisia and tarragon. You know, think of the artemisia in like vintage Jules from Dior. And you get all of that, but then the biggest hit from this the twist, if you will, what makes this fragrance unique and what makes it such a find. I think I paid $40 for $50 for this or something for 50 ml, and I got the aftershave. Is this French labdanum and olibanum underneath. So think about the combo of, think about the way olibanum is used in denim to give off that, you know, oiliness underneath it all with leather, and civet. So dirtiness, labdanum, it's resinous, and then the star of the show is the musk. The musk Kublai Khan, dirty musk with all of this around it. Absolute. You have to be ready for this, though. That's, like I said, I wore it on Halloween. This is, if you wore this to the office, I guarantee you would offend somebody, at least one person. It would be offended by this. It is, it's dirty, it's animalic, it's hard, it's a little hard to wear sometimes, but for someone like me, I love it, absolutely love it. And I use the aftershave, I shaved that day, so it was like a dual combo. Okay, now we're gonna get on to the last two, and you guys know I usually save my favorite fragrances for the end of the video, and if you know the year 1986, now, to be fair to this fragrance, I will tell you that Parfumo and Fragrantica disagree. So again, I've told you this before, but I am going off of Parfumo's, what they actually list as the year. It just makes it easy on me. But Fragrantica shows this as 85, but Parfumo shows it as 86, so it's in the 86 category. But that is Crizia's Teatro alla Scala. I have a backup of this coming from Anuj. I have the EDP coming, actually. This is the EDT, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, this is the EDT. This is a 50 ml splash that I scored for $30 before the prices kind of skyrocketed. And this is one of the most amazing Shifra, spicy, oriental. I mean, it's everything. Oh, this is one of the greatest finds ever in my entire perfume exploration. This has everything that I love. It has this dirty civet underneath. It has animalic beeswax. It has, you know, it starts off almost like a classic Shifra, but turned up to like 11 on the volume. So you get this fruitiness, but it's, don't think of the, you know, you could think of the fruitiness of fragrances like Mitsuko and stuff like that in a Shifra structure, but the animalic beeswax and the dirty civet underneath, the benzoin, all that warmth and that dirtiness just kind of tends to overtake it all. This, I don't know about versions, but I can tell you that mine says FPDP Parma. And so I honestly don't know about versions, but I know it's long discontinued, and I know that if you're a fragrance lover, you have to get your nose on this. This will blow your mind. This is one of the best discoveries ever. Definitely the best female-targeted Krizia fragrances I've come across. I like this way more than Crazy Krizia. This is just me in a bottle. And I've actually, one of the subscribers bought this based on my first impressions video and came back, and he said he thinks it was the best discovery of last year for him. So as you can see, it is it's a true hidden gem. I don't know how long it's going to stay hidden since I'm trumpeting the word out from the mountaintop, but again, that's why I started this channel, to share my love of fragrances with you guys, and you know what I found. And I actually tried to go buy a backup bottle of this from the same seller. He had 8 bottles, and by the time I went to go grab them, he sold all 8. And so, you know, some people are listening to what I have to say sometimes, but amazing discovery from 1986. And then we're going to go to my favorite 86 fragrance, maybe my favorite fragrance of all time. Because it, again, it's just me. If as far as leather fragrances go, this is it. This is the grail fragrance for me, and that is Bel Ami. As you can see, I have the first reformulation here, and I have the original shaker bottle here. And boy, Bel Ami to me, every time it does it to me. Even smelling it from the cap, it's just like, it's leathery. The leather in this is the best leather in the world. It does have some citrus notes at the top, but they're quickly eaten up by this spicy. The spicy cardamom and sage really pop in both of these versions. This one, the first reformulation, to me seems a little bit more elegant for some reason. This seems a little bit dirtier, which I love. I love them both, actually. But I think I prefer this version. I actually have 2 bottles of this. I never want to run out of this juice. It's just, it's my favorite leather fragrance by far. Maybe my favorite fragrance of all time. If I could wear this all the time, I would not be upset. But it does have this orris root, which gives it a powderiness and leather feel, which I've discovered, actually from doing this video and talking about things with you guys, that I really enjoy that orris leather combo. There's also, of course, oak moss from the 80s. So masculine. Now, this I can't imagine on a woman. There's a lot of these I can imagine on a woman. But this is 100% masculine to me. When I think about what a masculine fragrance is, you don't get much more masculine than Bel Ami, in my opinion. Maybe there's women that wear this and love this, but somebody, maybe it was Rich Mitch or Greggy Boy or somebody had mentioned that this smells like an English gentleman in a top hat in London, and I totally get that for some reason. It just it fits that English vibe, that London vibe, that classy Sherlock Holmes vibe, if you will. Somebody said that on a video and it stuck, and I completely understand what they're saying. But as far as leathers go, if you've never smelled Bel Ami, boy, you are missing out on one of the greatest. There's been so many iterations that have come off of this fragrance. Roja did one called, well, he did 2, actually. He did one for Pure Distance called M, which I prefer over his own brand called Fetish. They're both variations on Bel Ami, but I prefer Pure Distance M over Fetish. He Roja'd it up, and you're not supposed to Roja up a fragrance like Bel Ami. It's supposed to be dirty and oily, and it's so good. There's also a flanker called Bel Ami Vetiver by Jean-Claude Elena. 10 out of 10. I mean, if this is an 11 out of 10 for me, that's a 10 out of 10. And again, I don't do ratings, but as you can see, 1986 has some of my favorite fragrances of all time. I'm sure I missed some. So if I did, please leave me your feedback below on the fragrances that I should, look into from the year 1986. Also, if you have experience with some of these perfumes, please let me know. I have some more fragrances coming from Anouge very soon, so there will be an unboxing and stuff like that coming up. But I do appreciate you watching these videos. I appreciate your feedback, and I love seeing your faces down below. So if you have comments to say on some of these beauties from the year 1986, leave it below, and I try to respond to every single comment. So cheers. Thank you so much for watching. And by the way, happy President's Day. It is President's Day here in the United States, so it's a holiday, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.